Hi, Rodrigo. Nice to meet with you, and nice to have this opportunity to talk with you about Dash development and about the Dash community.
Well, thanks for having me after, I think, 3 or 4 weeks that we're trying to schedule this interview. We finally made it.
Yes. So I know that you are in the United States and you are closer to Venezuela than we. So we would like to know very much what do you think about Dash promotion in this Venezuela? How does it benefit Dash now? And what experience we can extract from Venezuelan promotion?
Okay, so let's start then talking about I run the Dash channel in Portuguese for Brazil, for the Brazilian market. And I traveled to a few conferences and I met Eugenia from Dash Caracas. We became close friends. I also met people from Dash Colombia as well, Edward and Mireia from Dash Medellin. So we kind of became a Latin America, South America group that we always talk about each other's proposal, how we can improve and promote Dash. In Venezuela, I'm going there to speak in a conference in about 10 days. I've never been to Venezuela before, but right now Venezuela is going through exactly the same thing that Brazil went in the 80s when I was growing up in Brazil. Hyperinflation, devaluation of the money. You need a stack of this much of money to buy a bottle of water because the government lost control of printing money. No other foreign nation wants to do business with Venezuela. And this not even mentioning the dictatorship and what the president is doing related to manipulation of election and corruption scandals, So the country is very disorganized and out of control. And so in this way, it's way easier for the population to understand the need of replacing their government currency, which is just a piece of paper. It's nothing more than a piece of paper, to a digital asset like a cryptocurrency like Dash Digital Cash. So for them right now, as soon as you start explaining, they know what money is and how not worth it, how devalued their money are at the moment. And once someone very smart, very capable, very professional, like the team of Eugenia and Dash Caracas comes in and schedule conferences and start explaining each conference that they have 500 people at least. So people understand this right away. So there's a huge adoption of Dash Digital Cash in Venezuela for merchants accepting Dash and people downloading wallets. One of the things people sometimes criticize or mention to me is they're like, well, how come the price of Dash does not go up because there's more people? Because at the moment, the value of the money in Venezuela is so low, they're not exchanging millions of dollars into Dash. They're exchanging literally $1 to $10 because the economy is so low that $1 there is worth a lot of money.
Yes, but we are watching Venezuela, and you know that the Venezuelan government, they introduced El Petro, the national cryptocurrency, and we pay great attention to this not phenomenon, but to this situation, because we can we could have the same story in our country. So is it possible, how do you think, is it possible if the government just restrict other cryptocurrencies and to make a pressure to the people to use only El Petro?
Well, there's a big controversy regarding the Petro or El Petro, because this was a cryptocurrency based on, there was President Maduro who forced this into the media. But in Venezuela, the government of Venezuela, which is the House of Representatives and the Senate, they are
Uh-huh.
against and they oppose the petro so
Ah.
far. So
Mm.
it
Mm.
has not been implemented in the country. So
Mm-hmm.
President Maduro, with a small group, developed a private blockchain that they say that they can sell this digital asset called petro, and they can, bypass sanctions by countries like United States or the European Union,
Mm-hmm.
and they can deal directly with, for example, Iran or
Mm-hmm.
North Korea and other countries, that they can sell their oil directly. But
Mm-hmm.
petro, I'll be very, very careful with this, because it's not an open source blockchain. You cannot mine. A small group of people control 100% of
Mm-hmm.
the entire project.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible to say it's backed by oil. How are you gonna attach a digital asset to drilling
Mm-hmm.
oil in the ocean? Even drilling oil, it's estimated that certain areas has a certain amount of oil. You cannot
Mm-hmm.
you cannot say for sure that this specific area, even though
Mm-hmm.
I think Venezuela owns 5% of the oil on
Mm-hmm.
the planet, but it's impossible to say it's backed by oil or diamonds or gold if there's no certification or a way to prove that this is going to be exchangeable for those real assets, and not just a
Mm-hmm.
digital assets because the president said so. So we have to be very careful. El Petro, I think it's something that's not going to take off. It needs approval from the government, and I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about the House of Representatives and Senate.
I see.
But yet, I have to say at least one thing is Venezuela. It's the only country where the president is talking about cryptocurrency. No other country on the planet you have the talk about cryptocurrency on a presidential level, and that actually maybe is positive. Maybe in the future, I'm not sure.
Mm. In our country, our president, no, he talks about cryptocurrency, and they are going to introduce crypto ruble as well as in Venezuela. So, what is the situation in Brazil?
Yeah. Well, Brazil at the moment, the president, the governors, senators, the House of Representatives, they're going through a massive corruption scandal, which is
Mm.
no surprise as well in your country.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
yet, for the first time in Brazil, we have a small group of judges that are sending people to jail. So we
Mm.
have the Speaker of the House in jail. We have a few senators, a few governors, a few mayors already in jail because of corruption. So
Mm.
this is on the political scene. They're not talking about cryptocurrency at all. The government. Hello, can you hear me?
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
I think you froze there. Okay, I think we're still recording. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. We just stopped on the jail that many governmental people now under sue.
Okay. So yeah. So there's no talk from the government in Brazil about implementing a cryptocurrency. It never even said anything about it. The only
Mm-hmm.
thing that they said is it's not illegal to do cryptocurrency. So it is okay to exchange cryptocurrency in Brazil. Okay, so for
Uh-huh.
Bitcoin, for Ether, for Dash, and many others that actually quite popular in Brazil. And yet the government is trying to tax you. So if you buy
Ah.
cryptocurrency, it is attached to your tax number, right? Which in the end of the year you have to tell the government that you bought this amount of cryptocurrency, and then if you sell, you have to pay tax on the difference between the price when you bought until the price you sold. So that's important. So they're not recognizing as a legal currency. It's
Uh-huh.
more like if you have a piece of artwork. If you buy a piece of artwork for a
Mm.
thousand, but then 1 year
Uh-huh.
later you sell that piece of artwork for 1,500, you have to pay tax on the 500 that you
Uh-huh.
made. So that's how
Uh,
they see cryptocurrency today.
Is this similar to the United States? I know that in the United States there are taxes on cryptocurrencies too.
Yeah, in the United States at the moment, I'm not actually very much into it. Some states are more flexible than other. The tax system in the United States is extremely complicated because each state they have federal taxes, state taxes, and county taxes or regional taxes. So it's a very tricky system. I know that majority of the people who owns a lot of cryptocurrency, they're moving to Puerto Rico because
Mm.
it's a tax-free island. So you get a huge
Uh-huh.
tax cut, and then you don't have to pay tax on digital assets that you manipulate. New York, for example, is making extremely difficult for exchanges
Uh-huh.
to open up and be able
Mm.
to sell cryptocurrencies. They have something called the BIT license that in 4 years they only allow 4 exchanges to get this license.
Mm.
So it's there, but again, in other states like New Hampshire and Arizona, they're more flexible for things like this. So it's the same as the marijuana or the cannabis law. It depends of each state. They're more flexible than others, but United States is definitely the country that will lead this implementation of a cryptocurrency because they will bring the huge amount of money, the huge amount of the flow of money
Mhm.
to the ecosystem.
Uh, am I right that uh, in the United States, only in Hampshire and Arizona, Dash is accepted? I mean, in merchants
Well,
or
it
at the
depends.
retail place.
Well, in New Hampshire, it's more. They have more. It's more of a liberal state. I haven't been there yet. I just saw a couple of documentaries and a couple of interviews about it. But you have
Uh-huh.
a higher adoption. So far, it's not illegal. So any merchant, any business can start accepting Dash digital cash. On those states, you have a bigger amount of people already into it.
Uh-huh.
But again,
Uh-huh.
every time the price of Bitcoin drops, and then it brings the entire ecosystem down, people get scared and then they stop accepting. But again, i
Hmm.
just i just bought my ticket to go to Venezuela, and I pay with Dash, my plane
Great.
ticket, using a
Hmm.
website called cheapair.com. They accept Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Dash. It took 10 seconds to do the payments. Once it was confirmed on the block, I think about 5 minutes later, I got an email from the Cheap Air saying, "This is your confirmation, done." So
Mm.
you can buy today any
Great.
plane ticket to anywhere on the planet using Dash.
Mm. Great. Rodrigo, and the last question, why do you prefer Dash? Prefer Dash?
Why?
Why?
Well,
You personally.
for me, I think it was the genius idea of you implementing a new governance system. While Bitcoin, the miners will be able to retain 100% of the value of the new coin mine. In Dash, it is divided between the first layers of the miners. They take 45% of the new coin. The second layer, which is the master nodes, which they validate the transactions way faster. So they also get to keep 45%, and 10% goes to the treasury, which this money is reinvested into the ecosystem to expand. So Dash Digital Cash, it goes on the total opposite of an ICO. While I go to those events and I see tons of ICOs and they're
Mm-hmm.
desperate asking for money, saying, "Please give me money so I can do my project." Every month, Dash has money to give you to do your project, which is my case. I'm a proposal owner. Every month, I get a percentage. I get Dash to create videos in Portuguese or videos for the Brazilian markets. And with this money, I get to actually create videos explaining how it works. And when I have the chance, I go to those events and I interview the biggest names into Dash and cryptocurrency to promote Dash in Brazil in Portuguese.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Rodrigo. Thank you very much for your personal opinion.
Thank
And
you.
I
Thank you for this invitation.
And I hope we will see you again.
Definitely. I'm planning to go to some trips to Eastern Europe and Russia. If I am on this area in the future, I'll definitely stop by
Welcome.
and say hi.
Yes, please let us know when you are in Europe or in Russia. We will be very glad to meet you here and to show you our sightseeing. We are in Saint Petersburg.
One of my biggest supporters for my proposal since the beginning is Alex.
Uh-huh.
He's Alex Ru. He's one of the largest dash miners in
Yeah.
Russia. I've never met him. I spoke to him, but I'm very grateful because he always support my proposal. And I'm very happy that he's from Russia. A lot of people don't know this, but I grew up actually in Slovakia Republic.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah,
So we know Alex. We know Alex, and we get on with him very well. So he's great, and we are in touch. Very close
good.
in our promotion. Thank you, Rodrigo.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.